Right to a channel of light fluid. Yes, it's time to return to the echo of 1915. And this time we're following through William's route. So let's see what's been going on since we left that last time. The men have work to do at closing time. I don't mean to intrude on your family livelihood, Ma'am, but... Don't you? Pennies down the drain seem like the only recourse in this interrogation. My son has work to do. Ma'am, if pennies are concerned, I'll line the tip jar once I'm through. It's an urgent matter. I'm not a fan of how you seem to handle urgent matters. She's just ignoring me. My boy has work to do. Work that won't get him shot. Ma'am, I am investigating the murder of Huxley Green. Her eyebrows rise. Either she's generally surprised or she's got a lot of experience practicing. Just peaches. Can't say I'm saddened by the news. I feel my ears perk up. I get that tingling sensation that violence is in the air. The kind that lets you know a fight is about to break out. It's an unsettling sensation coming from somebody like her. And why is that? I'm certain you know why. Refresh me. She leans against one of the counters, crossing her legs as she balances on one foot. Her words are slow. Specific. The man was a drunk. He gave Marcy bruises. Spent all his earnings on booze. Barely kept up the house. Something was bound to happen sooner or later. I tucked my notebook into my pocket and scratched the back of my head. I'll give you that impression. She shrugged. Justice, common sense, God's grace. I happen to have the belief that if you do enough wrong, then something will come your way to right it. It's too bad the law seldom does so. Did you know this was going on? Practically all of the women in the damn town knew it was going on. Sheriff McKinney knew, but he'd never convicted him, and his snooping only made things worse for Marcy. You knew it was him too, didn't you? Oh, I suspected. The accusation of voice isn't entirely fair. The Greens have lived on that patch of land since the founding of the town. There's only so much an outsider can do against an insider without rolling up his sleeves and dragging her off to testify against her husband. And she was as terrified of being alone as much as she was terrified of being with him. Lauren confirmed it today. It was much worse than I thought it might be. I'm glad the Reaper got to him first, as though he were to act. In the days my father, society didn't wait around for the right postage to arrive to protect their women. The men without character wouldn't be allowed near their daughter in the first place. They didn't have to lock them up like mongrels to be set loose upon the world again after a perfunctory stretch of time. They'd send the problems out on the front gate of the village with nothing but their clothes on their backs and tell them good luck. We have due process now, Ma'am. There's that good old fixation on response instead of prevention. Due process means diddly squat to people with permanent injuries, bodies that don't hold a soul anymore. I can never quite decide if I was born too late to live among men of action, or too early for the much-needed revision of the judicial process. Marcy would be far better off without the devil darkening her doorway. She might not make it past the morning. Gretchen Burns' brow furrows deeply. And what's that supposed to mean? I mean, she miscarried today. The placenta wasn't intact. Her eyes widen and I see the hairs about her slip away. Where is she? She's down at the hip. She struts out of the dark room, grabbing her coat on the door handle, and walks away without looking at me. I think about stopping her for a moment. She says plenty of suspicious things. I mostly want space between me, her, and her son for now. Now she's gone, is there anything else you'd like to say? I'm not hiding anything, Will. If I were, my first step would be to tamper with your evidence. Has anybody done that lately? Your weasel friend messed around my office. But so was Cynthia. I could ask Sam what he saw. So what? You think Cliff is up to something? Well, that's for certain. Doesn't mean he's trying to mess with my progress, though. At least not on purpose. That's serious, huh? What exactly has he done? All I know is his real name ain't Cliff, and he's brought into town and hired to work on a project with James. The fox's brow furrows. Well, the first part is strange. But over half the town works for Mr. Hendrick's. Hardly surprising. Well, like I said, it's suspicious but hardly worth hounding him over. Doesn't exactly mean I want to keep him too close, either. Are you mad I invited him to poker night? I'm more upset that you took a bullet for him. I told you he's been followed. He could have died if I hadn't done something. You don't even know him. So what? The way you see it, you took a bullet for a stranger. The way I see it, my friend took a bullet for a stranger. See how that's different? When you put it that way, I guess. I wish you wouldn't act like this ain't a big deal. You ain't out of the woods yet. If your shoulder gets infected, there's no cutting it off or burning the sick away. Well, don't get weepy on my account. I'm cleaning and dressing it before and after work every day. I bet you'd pay good money to see me cry. He snorts. I don't think I can afford something so rare. I'd also check outside, see if it was hailing. Plenty of things make me want to cry. Have you met my deputy? Cliff complained about him, too. That's another thing you do have in common. I raise my finger at him. Don't start. He shrugs at me like he's innocent. I just figured if we're all going to the stag tomorrow night, you'd enjoy yourself more if you talked to everybody else more. Well, I talk to Nick and Sam plenty. He crosses his arms and gives me a look. They barely talk. So then it works for me. I feel the strain in my brow and the bristle at the back of my neck. To be honest, I don't even know if that's happening tomorrow. What? Why not? Because today was shit. There's too much I have to do right now. I've seen worse. Far worse. It's not here. I know that Marcy and Huxley isn't going to be the end of it. Well, let's get back to business. I have to ask you, Murdoch. I get out my notebook and show him the picture of a gum wrapper in my notebook. You sell this gum in the store, don't you? I watch his expression while he looks. There's a glimmer in his eye, but no facial tic or wrinkles. If he's surprised to see it, then I can't tell. Yeah, we do. It's not cheap in bulk, but that's the only way to get it. So it ain't a stretch to say the only supplier downtown who sells this gum? Yeah, I suppose it isn't. So who buys it? And mostly just kids with enough pocket money. Oh, in the past week. I can tell that he's thinking. There was a wolf in a yellow dress and a headband. You know her? Shit. I know where to find her. The cool air hits my face as I open the door. Murdoch says something as I leave, but I can't hear it. I'm too mad. Every direction's pointing me to Hendrick's Manor. It'll take me at least 20 minutes to walk there. There's nothing on this earth or off it that's going to stop me from putting my feet in front of the other. I can see that manor on the hilltop through the trees and the alleyways. But I stop and lean against the shady side of the post office. I feel a rush to my head as I dig through my pockets for a cigarette. It's 6:22 here, so it's 8:22 there. I try to think about what I'm going to say. I'm scared of my ex-wife because of the chewing gum you made her buy. I sound like a lunatic. But everything keeps leading back to James. Hattie's new job. The party at the manor being held on the same day of Huxley's disappearance. The body flung to a ditch from what had to be a fast-moving vehicle. There's got to be more he's done. He's never at the centre of the crimes committed in this town, but his name and his home keep getting brought up around them. He's like a bug at a campfire. Flitting around, dive-bombing you so you can see him out of the corner of your eye, but only won't dare buzz too close to the fire. So now the question is, why him? Or why his house? Either he must be responsible, or there's got to be a reason all this is happening around him. So which is it? Or is it both? That's not the important question right now. What am I going to say to give me enough time to snoop around in that mansion? That's the important one. There ought to be something in there that answers some of my questions. Shit. I've finished my cigarette already. Oh well. What I need to say will come to me. It always does. The sun beats down the back of my neck as I climb the hill. A raccoon on the porch goes inside when he sees me. The wolf at the gate looks me up and down. So I do the same. I take it by your stare that you know who I am. Master Hendrick has been notified of your presence. There's a hard look to him. I crouch down on my knees, staring up at him. I toss a pebble. He doesn't look. His eyes stare straight out into the desert horizon. They wander lonely roads and bone-picked fields. As if he hasn't had one challenging thought in years. There's no complication whatsoever in what he has to do to protect his master. I'm looking at a living corpse who stares back and doesn't see me. Sometimes the officers would get like that in the city too. When you spend your life shambling on, you can forget how to stop. Is this a stakeout, Sheriff? The guard presses a button and the gate opens, letting James stand aside, swiveling on his walking stick. You don't seem like the sort of squat unless you had your paws on your pistol. Everybody likes a little shade now and again, Mr. Hendricks. There's far more of it inside. Shall you come in? Well, that's why I'm here. Good, good. His face sours when he looks at my claws. No pebbles this time. I show him my hands and let him know that they're clean. The raccoon opens the door for us and I feel his gaze linger on the back of my head as we pass through the door. James, dear, who's that at the door? A sweet voice of a grown woman calls from the doorway. The head of a small ram pokes around the door frame. Papa, who's this? A very special guest, my bonny boy. Go wait with your mother in the den. But is that an automatic handgun he has? No, if you please. The boy's lip curls and his posture turns into a sulk as he disappears around the door again. So very eager to end their childhoods early, boys. They'll miss it when it's gone. He takes my hat and puts it on his coat rack, regarding me carefully. Perhaps that's a bit of a sore spot for you? I can never tell if he's trying to get into my skin or if he's just stupid. I don't really care which is true, so I go with a funnier answer. I don't speak for others, generally. Of course, of course. Assumptions make an ass out of us all, don't they? The cheer in his voice drops. So which assumptions have led you here today? We had to talk to you about that list you dropped on me in your fancy automobile. You are? He sounds pleasantly surprised. Good. One of the ones I'm watching closely is here today. Oh, is he now? His lips are tied. Perhaps butter and honey can grease wheels better than oil. Well, that's a malapropism. Okay. James is still saying things, but I'm too distracted to listen. The grand entrance to their foyer shows off a massive painting of an older ram looking down at us. It's positioned low enough to the ground that it gives me pause. Before we move on, tell me a bit about that painting. He looks up and smiles. That painting? Yeah. Well, he's the true lord of the manor. That's my grandfather. Oh. Him. I've heard a lot about him. But not from James. So, what was he like? Determined, persistent. My mother said he was the most charming man in our family. Hardly surprising, considering you'd have to be to get this many people to pack up their things and live out here in the middle of the desert in the first place. I squint, staring a little more at the painting. Oh, yeah? Tell me more. Well, there's a lot to tell. You know, we wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for him. He and a business partner scouted the wilderness for months before they struck gold at the first site, which would become the CSCG mining operation. Business partner? Was that Briggs' father? Oh, no. Briggs was just a pup when he worked under my father. Alas, he did not know my grandfather. Most paintings have a gap in their frames. That one looks welded to the wall. So, what can you tell me about his original business partner? I start climbing the stairs. Well, he's not very important. He clears his throat loud enough for me to turn around. This way, Sheriff. I bite the inside of my cheek. I want to get a closer look at that painting. It directs me down the right hall, which leads into a richly decorated parlour. It smells like lemon, huckleberries, Earl Grey and honey cakes. I get a quick look around the room. The child from the hallway is poking at logs in the fireplace with a red iron poker. Then I see something I didn't expect to see there. Nikolai looks very uncomfortable, stuffed into a wicker basket chair, holding a very fine teacup in one hand. A well-dressed you, who can only assume is Mrs. Hendricks, is reading a book on a wicker basket lounge. She puts the book down when we enter the room and stands up. Oh my goodness gracious, is that the sheriff? The boy shuffles sideways, pretending not to look at me, but his eyes are on my gun holster. Nick turns slowly to see me. He looks almost grateful. I do hope we've not done anything wrong. That remains to be seen. Well, I'm just here to talk some business over with Mr. Hendricks. You keep a very lovely home. Oh, please, sir, I am just an amateur decorator. The real credit should go to our principal and fastidious staff. Please, come sit with us.
Yes, come join us for tea, William.
This is really fucking weird. James points in between myself and the badger. The two of you know one another, yes?
It's part of my job to know most people.
You can drop the rough and tumble act. Even a man as son as yourself who's married to duty has to have friends.
I feel my hand slip into my pocket for a cigarette out of habit, but stop myself. Yes. Nick is a friend of mine.
I'd like to think of Nicholas as a friend of mine, too.
Nick gives me a side look, telling me this is absolutely not the case. Not that I would have needed a confirmation.
Oh, well, that's just so sweet. It can be really hard for James to make friends out here, what with the awkwardness that comes from the nature of my husband's work.
She means in fact almost everybody works under him.
Well, that's not entirely true. Oh, please do forgive me if I misspoke.
She seems nice, but my mind isn't really a part of this conversation. Think about why Nick is here, when I'm going to have the opportunity to ask him about it. I think it should happen before I go. I look around the room to see if there are any clues. Nick's clothes are clean, which means he probably didn't go to work today. James' eyes are on me naturally, so I don't make any sudden glances. On the coffee table, I notice a replica of the house made out of a cardboard. The front is a very familiar facade of a Federalist plantation-style home. but the back extrudes much farther than expected. There are wings and turns and what looks like to be a centre room with what's meant to be a glass roof. Who built the cardboard model?
Oh, I'd call that thing more of an endeavour than a model. Quite so.
What do you all mean by that?
This is my attempt at scaling the house.
I cock my brow with the both of them. Make it simple for me.
My grandfather, the original architect of this house, had many planned renovations that he never entreated to share.
God damn. So they have so much room on this hill they've gone and lost track of it. You mean he didn't leave floor plans of his own house to you all?
If he did, he lost them.
Mrs. Hendrick makes a noise while sipping her tea and shaking her finger. She puts the cup down, wipes her mouth with her kerchief, and then speaks up.
But I have a theory that he had no interest in sharing them. Well, he had a great deal of interest in antiquity, but an even greater interest in the late medieval period.
You don't say.
Take the outside of our house, for instance. The exterior belies a homely manner, but the bones are something else entirely. There are doors to nowhere. Or more like there were clearly doors to somewhere, but that somewhere never got to be built. My grandfather didn't want a manor, he wanted a citadel.
So, what do you want?
Me?
Do you plan to take up his work?
I've already started plans, hence the maquette. What's most interesting me is how committed he was to his heritage. My grandfather grew up experiencing a country full of green hills with expanding ruins. He was a lord without a castle and he came to this country, and he started to build. His vision is certainly unfinished, and I don't need any floor plans to confirm that.
There's a lot of convenient deniability in his story. If something were occurring in his house, he could claim he didn't know about it. What makes me nervous, I don't entirely think he's lying to me. This place is huge. According to the town records, it was huge before his birth. Who knows what he's added or removed to the interior?
The problem with big houses is that they were meant for big company. I feel I have plenty of regular company, wife. How don't you wife me?
She crosses her hooves and clasps them to her bosom.
I just meant to say that most of my family still lives out east, and they're very close to James. It would take them a week just to travel and see me. The only time we get to see them is late August when we go off to see the coast. But Mr. Crowell is such a perfect gentleman that I should love it if he kept coming back.
Thank you, Mrs. Hendricks.
Please, call me Cordelia.
So, she's lonely then? Lonely people love to talk. Good. This is my chance. I have to lay this on thick, but not come across desperate. My chances will reveal themselves in the pauses. Mum, I'm afraid I have a terrible confession to make.
A confession?
Nick and James turn to me and give me looks if they want to know what's going on through my head, what I'm going to say next. First, let me start by saying that before coming to Echo, I worked with the BOI as a detective. Most of my cases pertain to stalkers and agents of foreign interference. But corruption at home became my priority when I caught on to the activities of the son of one of the city's biggest mafiosos by sticking my nose where it didn't belong. His name was Philip Momo Artinelli. He liked to call himself Big Momo after his granddaddy. In spite of his criminal acts, he was well liked. I gave James a look to make sure he's paying attention to that. But he's just listening patiently, wearing the false smirk of a soda jerk. Antonelli was a deeply religious man. Most are in those circles, as paradoxical as it may seem. A part of what made him so hard to catch wasn't just his pristine reputation. It was that he rarely conducted his crimes himself. He always had an ironclad alibi. It's odd as those violent crimes can be linked to any of the outfits loyal to him. But funny enough, I look around to make sure the rest of the room is listening. He always left something behind for me to look for. In his case, that's some of his handwritten notes carried in several copies of identical-looking suitcases through the L train in broad daylight.
What's the L train?
A jewel of the city.
It's just a rail train that rides above the street. Oh, how lovely. Could we ride it one day? I doubt it'll run for much longer. Once everybody has access to automobiles, trains will belong in the past, just as well as the other elements of antiquity.
Back to what I was saying. I can hear the impatience in my own voice, but soften it. His use of the L train made sense, because every crime conducted happened within a block of the railway and during service hours. I started riding at prime times and saw the suitcase transfers where the crimes occurred. Didn't even know anything about this man by the time I caught him. But once I did, every part of society all around me started falling like a stack of cards. People affiliated with Antonelli got busted left and right. This included some of our own on the police force, who later come to hate my guts. My testimony and the evidence I gathered brought a lot of important people away, not just Antonelli. A whole lot of folks didn't like me too much after that. I lost parts of my ear following an ambush. My wife at the time lived in fear whenever we went outside after dark. If I knew that's what had happened to us even after Big Momo got arrested, then maybe I could have ignored those suitcases. But I might have gone crazy never knowing what was doing those terrible crimes to my friends and my city when I knew I had the skills to find out.
But why bring this all up now?
Because I can't shake the notion there's organised crime in Echo as well. I still have again to make sure every last person in the room is hanging on the edge of my next words. Part of the reason I'm here is because I'm investigating a series of terrible crimes, and I think I need the help of you folks to get anywhere.
Did you say terrible crimes?
This is the first time I hear his son say anything in this room. He's lying on his belly, legs behind him, kicking as he watches me with his head in his hands. I give him a quick wink. Awful ones.
Enough of this. Please, husband, let him speak.
And those are the words I needed to hear to know I'd have free reign over this mansion. A wave of relief washes over me.
Well, it's not like I'm putting a muzzle over him.
She tisks at him gently.
We can all hear your tone, James. Well, let's not go overboard. Who might we suspect he's talking about? If there's anybody to point a finger at, it should be the picketers. That's why I want you to nip this in the bud days ago, you stubborn coyote.
Whoa. James flinches at remembering that Nikolai is still in the room.
Oh, come now. That wasn't lobbed at you. I know a demure giant when I see one.
Nikolai puts his hands in his pockets. Knowing his habits, his fists are balled. There's a sudden slam on the door. It's enough to make Noah sit up and Mrs. Hendricks cover her mouth. James is confused for a moment, then looks at his watch.
Oh, for the love of...
He looks between all of us.
I have to take somebody in my office at the moment. Please excuse my absence. I doubt it will be brief.
He walks stiffly to the hall and out of sight.
Good evening, Briggs.
Nikolai stands, putting his teacup down on the coffee table. He shuffles away from the doors and the halls until he hears the footsteps of the two men disappear out the door.
Are you all right, Mr. Crow?
Shyness. It's the most bald-faced lie he's ever told.
Well, it's been an excitable day, hasn't it?
I could ask Mr. Kroll a few questions in private.
Didn't you want to look around the house? Please, feel free to roam the house and ask the staff what you like.
Mrs. Hendricks, you said there are all sorts of doorways to nowhere in this house, correct?
Well, I believe so.
You don't sound very sure.
Well, some of the doors lead to passages that the servants use. Elmer, the butler, would know about that, but I'm afraid we don't speak so often. But I try to get in the way of the servants, and after dark the mansion gets too strange for my liking.
Strange? How?
Well, it's voices of people I've never heard before. And there's noises I'd never heard before at any other place in time.
What kinds of noises?
Sometimes it's like quick, scratchy scrambling. Sometimes it sounds more like noises coming from a machine. But nothing about the noises ever strikes me as natural.
You can say there might be passages the architect put in place he didn't want to find. Maybe rooms aren't accessible at certain times of the day. Or rooms that won't open properly if you don't turn a wrench or flip a lever. She tilts her head.
Well, I suppose that's possible.
I have my suspicions about a certain location.
Do be careful. I wouldn't want you to run into any traps if you poke around too aggressively.
There are traps in this house?
Mostly harmless ones, I think. One of the doors out in the garden opens to a series of smaller doors, and in the mirror you have to crouch down to see. Another time I used a dumb waiter that was hiding behind a bookcase. When I opened it, a lead ball fell out and left a dent in the wooden floor. You had to replace that part of the floor.
Doesn't sound harmless to me. Oh, thanks for the warnings.
Of course.
Well, I can lend some assistance. Well, I think that would be a good idea. Nick follows me in the foyer and keeps his voice low until we get a good distance away from the hall and start to climb the stairs. I feel a lot more relaxed being alone with him, not relaxed enough to feel at ease in this house. It's good to have you watching my back, Nick. The feeling is mutual. So, what are you actually doing here? I was invited. That was the truth. Don't you think your friends out in the mine will have a problem with that? On the contrary, they encouraged it. The whole point of our movement is to keep negotiations open. But it's not like I could have told him no even if they didn't approve. He is my boss. Thanks, Zale. I get it. But the unit isn't why he's interested in me. Huh. Is that so? Well, I'm certain. If not that, then what? What he is interested in is Samuel. I inhale a bit of my own spit, then start coughing. Sam? I sputter a bit and Nick hits my back a few times with the back of his palm. Are you alright? Let's not change the subject. What does he want with Sam? Sam's not important, he's just Sam. I know. You don't have to raise your voice at me about that. I wasn't raising it at you, I was... Oh, forget it. He shifts his weight from one foot to the other, uncomfortable like. Anyway, I've never told another soul besides you and with a friend about my visits with Sam. But somehow he knows. He's asked me a good number of details about Sam's habits and preferences. He wants to invite us both to luxurious distractions and lavish meals. I don't think he knows that he's spending more time with you lately than with me yet. Well, isn't that partly your fault? He grits his teeth. I'm not going to talk about this now. Well, good. So I'm not the one you need to talk about it with. He already has Hattie and Andy wrapped around his finger. If he finds out how much time I'm spending with Sav, then I bet he'll try to control Sam, if things will be able to control me. And be able to get away with anything. I really hate this man. Why won't we get any tea parties out of me? Yes, here you are. Shall I go grab you a macaroon? I'd rather guzzle piss. Or don't you drink instant coffee? That is already piss. I'll drink whatever wakes me up as long as it's out of one of his teapots. Well, as long as you admit you are a piss drinker. Isn't tea too rich for your blood anyway? Not when you're friends with vaccines. I need something quick and strong. Also like piss. Let's stop talking about piss, Nick. You're the one who started it. Anyway. We reach the top of the stairs. I knock on the wood next to the painting as hard as I can without making a dent. At least not a big dent. There's a deep, vacuous sound. You hear that? Yeah. The walls directly behind this are hollow. Look closely at the gold and black paint on the side of the frame. There's hinges. The painting opens? Yeah, I'm not sure how or when. What do you mean, when? Some buildings can have clockwork mechanisms to make doors or passages usable at only certain times of the day, or under certain conditions. Do you think that's the case? I can't say for sure, but I think it's unlikely. Systems like that are generally noisy and need to be maintained. Their truth about not understanding the house, which is yet to be proven, by the way, then a mechanism like that would have to be broken a long time ago. Probably a more simple way to open it. I'd only work on one side or have a hidden switch somewhere. Are you going to try to open it? I think it's time to poke around like that. On a general overview of the mansion before I fiddle with any potentially dangerous bits. Let's go back to the living room for now. Okay. Mrs. Hendricks is still there, flipping cards on the coffee table. They're back so soon? Briefly. Now, where else is most important to check? I've got a bad feeling I don't have a whole lot of time. Mrs. Hendricks?
Yes, Sheriff?
I told you I have a new in-house chef for hire.
Oh yes, Hattie's phenomenal.
Would you be in the kitchen then?
Well, I should say so. She usually makes dinner about this time.
All right then. I'd like to ask a few questions.
Just along the hall, you eventually come to the kitchen.
Well, I can go with you. I gave him a look and he seemed to know what's on my mind. Thanks, but I want to do this alone. Ah, I understand. Thanks.
I have a story I can tell you while we wait, Mr. Kroll.
Oh?
About my home, my old home.
I watched his phaser go further into the hallway, taking turns, passing parlour rooms and the entrance to the cellar. I smell the kitchen before I see it. Brown butter scents mixing with onions and peppers. The hallway leads the open entrance to the kitchen, and I see her there, back turned to me and chopping vegetables. I stop because I feel cold. There's a familiar sense of danger that crawls up my spine as I see her chop vegetables, just like how she used to. She glides from one end of the kitchen out into the pot on the wood stove like a familiar ghost. Memories flash through my head. They speak Hattie Willoughby. They speak Conrad Adler. They speak Aidan Fletcher. Slipping past me in the yellow lights of a subway. The spectre of death sneaks up on me and takes a seat right on the kitchen island. It has no form and cannot speak, but I know it takes up space. I know it wants to convince me that life is just another transition. That's when you get accustomed to wasting time. You can only waste more. I turn my back on it once, but it knows I have to walk into this kitchen. Hello, Hattie. And chopping stops. She turns, wearing a bemused expression.
Oh, Will?
Yeah, it's me.
What on earth are you doing here?
She sounds angry. I can't entirely blame her.
What, are you finally ready to talk?
I'm here to talk. Just not necessarily about what you want to talk about.
Spare me.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't think you were in danger.
You kidding me? This is one of the safest places I've ever worked. This place is literally guarded.
I'm following a murder case. She picks up a handful of chopped tomato and drops it into the pot with a sizzle.
Hardly new territory for you, then.
Every piece of evidence I come across keeps leading me back to this manor. She turns around, looking a little less calm.
Evidence like what?
location where a body was dumped, the speed at which it was dropped, the temperature, the trash only where the body was discovered. It's very possible the serious crime was committed in or near the mansion last Thursday. She wobbles a bit and looks around her. She's expecting somebody to jump out of the shadows. And she's tongue-tied. After muttering some gibberish, she composes herself and clears her throat.
Well, is there anything I can do to help you?
Did you buy a large packet of Tutti Frutti gum at Red's General Store last Wednesday? She shakes her head and shrugs as she goes back to her cooking.
Well, yeah. Master Hendrick likes that brand of gum. It's a popular brand of gum.
Maybe in the city where we come from. In case you haven't noticed, here it's a bit of a luxury.
Well, sure, but gum can last a long time. I could keep packs of stuff around for months and get a craving one day and chew a piece.
You'd tell me if Mr. Hendricks had you do anything illegal, wouldn't you, Hattie? She jerks her chin out at me and she stirs the pot.
Oh, brother. He hasn't asked me to do anything illegal, Will. Just chores, some cooking, some minor housekeeping, and keeping the lady of the house company. Poor dear is completely isolated up here.
You still don't know who put you in contact with Mr. Hendricks, or I'd be interested in importing a cook?
Nope and nope.
Not even a letter? There's nothing?
Taste c'est tout fait.
She shoves a spoon in my mouth and it's very close to being too hot and makes me slurp on it. No, it's fine, Hattie.
I'm not going for just fine, Will. They're paying me.
More salt, more heat. Yeah, attaboy. She gives the pot a stir and clanks the spoon on the side. Then she takes a look at me, drops the spoon and sighs.
You know, I tell you if I thought this job was putting me in danger, Will. It's been extremely mundane. You know, after all we've been through back home, frankly, I think I need a little bit of mundanity.
So then you know I think there's going to be trouble for you here. If we manage to outrun our old enemies.
Your enemies, Will? The only thing I ever did to those crooks was marry you.
Unfortunately, that's enough. They see the family as one unit.
I wish you'd have taken a page out of their book then.
I feel myself getting frustrated again. I never treat anybody I'm with like a mere extension of myself. It's not sweet, nor loving, nor romantic. It's just the most traditional way for somebody to unperson you. She looks a little taken aback. Then she goes back to her pot.
At least tradition doesn't sound so lonely.
It was for me. She jerks out her chin again.
So then why do you still seem to care about me?
I exhale. They don't want us to smoke in the kitchen, do they?
I know, but I certainly wouldn't want you to either. Stop evading the question.
I'll tell you when I either have nothing else to lose, or when it's safe to. And there's more than 1 million miles between us.
For all your flaws, you're always honest, Will.
She turns the flame down low.
There is something strange I found. Come on.
She leads me around a corner to what looks like the opening of the basement. Beside the door is what looks like an old vanity cabinet. She opens one of the drawers and what I see shocks me. It pulls out the biggest collection of hand mirrors I've ever seen. What?
I know what you might be thinking. Mrs. Hendricks must be an eccentric to own all these hand mirrors.
Nah.
She doesn't know they're here.
But why are they here?
I was hoping you could tell me. Please get back to me if you figure it out.
What the hell?
Anyways, I'm on the clock still. I have a dinner to prepare. If you need to find me again, then you know where I'll be.
She leaves me with my thoughts in the cellar. The closer she gets to dinner time, the more likely Mr. Hendricks will come home and limit where I can look. I make my way back to the living room. Nick and Mrs. Hendricks seem to be deep in conversation when I return.
How did you make it to the kitchen, all right?
I'm not in a lick of trouble, Ma'am. I should spend the rest of my time wisely. Well, aside from the noises and the strange doors, is there anything else odd about the house I should know?
Well, I would like to know where an occasional smell is coming from.
A smell?
Well, yes, but it's not a smell that lingers like a foul miasma. It comes and goes, like a wave at the beach. It's just instead of feeling a force that makes you float, you smell something.
Smell what exactly? She looks away as if thinking, opens her mouth before shutting it, tapping her chin.
A burning.
Burning what? Wood? Plastic?
Just a very deep, very powerful smell. I almost want to say the burning scent of everything imaginable. But there's a fatty smell. Almost like bacon fat.
There's no chance that's coming from your cook?
No, the kitchens are vented. And those scents tend to linger, then fade. These are here, then gone. Mommy, I'm bored. I'm sorry, sweetie. Papa has plenty of nice books we can read together. Would you like me to pick one out? Or maybe later.
The young ram brushes against me. He's looking down at my gun again. Now he's actually going for it. Whoa, 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 that's not for you. I push his hands away and he freezes. He looks embarrassed, like he didn't think he was going to get caught. Then he stops and looks up at me.
Do you kill people? No, I don't ask him that.
I scratch the back of my head. This is real awkward. I do my best to make sure that doesn't have to happen. He stands on his tiptoes and wobbles his head.
But that's not answering the question.
He stares at me a bit, wiggling his lips like he's not entirely sure to make the right sorts of faces for adult situations yet. Yes, I've killed people.
Wow.
I wait for him to follow up on that. But he doesn't. Frankly, I'd expect him to say a little more than just wow. Who exactly is teaching you to talk like that? He frowns and shakes a bit.
Well, you're Auntie's papa, all right?
I exhale. Something like that. The outside of his cheeks are red.
It was his idea.
Oh, was it?
He said he'd tell me more stories about the army if I could get hold of it. But we're just playing around, mister, that's all.
Well, you should play with less dangerous things. These aren't toys.
Okay. Mama, I'm going to play with my blocks now. Okay, Noah. Please make sure to play safely.
She looks very worried, but twice as tired. They're children. They're little people. Who don't know that taking a weapon from a sheriff isn't a smart thing to do yet.
Yes. And so much personality for a body that size.
Mrs. Hendrick sinks into a chair and lets out a sigh. Sometimes the things kids ask you are the scariest thing that can happen in a day on the job. I probably shouldn't spend much more time in the living room. And to make sure I can learn as much as I can. Oh, Mom, do you mind if I show the sheriff something upstairs? There's something I think he should see.
If that's the case, then please do your best to help him.
Lead the way, Nick. He leads me back to the foyer in front of the portrait again. He looks behind his shoulder at the hall and the front door before he speaks. What shook you up? What do you mean? There's more strain in your voice than there was before. Well, I handled it all with Hattie less than perfectly. She is your wife, yes? Ex-wife. So you're concerned for her? I'm more concerned than she is for herself, I fear. He hums. Oh, it sounds like you still want input on the decisions. You don't get to do that anymore. I know. I don't want to just stand by and do nothing either. I know she's in some kind of trouble. You really think she's in more trouble now than where she was? Oh, some creeps found her apartment, but she's got to relocate instead of coming to me. I have had a chance of not getting tailed if we keep away from each other. Well, have you considered that she could be completely safe, and the only reason she was brought here was to bother you? Well, at least part of it was meant to bother me. So, is it not working? Is it supposed to be helping, Nick? Yes. You'll have to figure out how to keep it from bothering you. That is the only thing you can do when somebody has power over you. Feel a hell of a lot better if justice in this country carried out its function. We both know it often doesn't. You alone can't be the arbiter of that. Okay then. So what can we do right now? First, you want to find out if she's actually in danger, yes? Yes. Just check his office. James' office? Yes. It is the first door to the right at the top of the stairs. And how do you know that? He told me earlier. Oh, sounds like a bad lie to me, but I don't think I need to press him on it. Well, we need to get a key if we want to look. Well, let's just turn the knob first and see. I don't think James is careful enough with evidence to lock his office. Why do you figure that? He's not one to think he's doing anything wrong. Still, you think he has to know tons of people don't like him? I don't actually know if he does. I shake my head. Let's go ahead and try it then. We climb the right side of the stairs and reach a second floor hallway. The first door we see, I give Nick a look and he nods. So I decide to turn it. And it actually does open. You kidding me? I told you. I shake my head again and press through. There are files and letters spread everywhere. There could be some measure of order to them by the ways that they are spread. And the bins are full of paper. I can't believe it isn't burned these. Oh, there better not be any gum in his basket. There is. Just think of it like holding one of his kisses in your hand. Disgusting. The top of the pile includes letters from relatives. It's not clear to me why he tossed handwritten letters from his family. Doesn't look to be anything special about them. Yeah, quite a few letters from Briggs. All of them seem to be just one or two sentences, formal and strictly business, mostly about cost and replacement equipment. And I see parchment that looks a little more fine. I suspect it's just going to be another letter from an extended family on the East Coast. But it's not. I stare at what's between my fingers. You went quiet. Mostly because I found what I was looking for. He looks over my shoulder. So what are you going to do about it? I don't suspect showing her this will be enough to convince her to leave. I rip a piece of it off and leave the rest in the trash. Well, I want to keep just a piece of it. These just look like pictures and profiles of various CSCG workers. Oh, look, Nick, there's you. I spread open the file and give him a good look at the photo of himself stapled to the documentation. Hard-working but obstinate. A threat when communicating with union organisers. Harmless and passive on his own. Keep his budget tight and wanting for more work. I think you're passive, Nick. He walks away and shuffles through more file cabinets. Good. Well, I think we didn't already know, I presume. I have to wonder who's taking all these photographs. The Burns are the only developers in town I know of accessible to the public, but knowing the money James has, it shouldn't be hard to find a private developer. I don't suppose he leaves his file cabinets unlocked either. I try to open it and the door is stuck. Well, at least he has some sense. The keys are on top of the cabinet. So they are. I feel a bit of second-hand embarrassment when the keys do in fact work and let me in. There's various files about taxes, company protocol and deeds. There's a particularly flashy folder with dark paper and gold paper stamped into it. First I expect it to be something important like the deed to the house. What I see is more of an illustration. That's James' face in highly rendered, loving detail. Company scrip, 10 cents. Oh, for the love of God. I can't make up my mind on it's been hilarious or devastating. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. Are you saying that people know about this? Yes. But how did you know? The secretary at CSCG tells us everything. James showed this off at his party last Thursday. Oh, no wonder people are pissed. Thought it was just a mix of his general cluelessness and his grandfather's reputation. If he gets the approval to do this, he'll destroy the economy. That means trouble for the hip. Trouble for all the merchants, too. This little piece of paper with a target on his back for the whole goddamn town. At least it gives me more information to what's going on. But Jesus fucking Christ, this son of a bitch. I have to muffle myself or I choke to death laughing. Nick, I'm about balls to the walls hysterical. Good. The world needs to know this man is crazy. I'm terrified what we're going to find next. Well, I bet we can find more. I do too, but I'm going to be caught in his office with my trousers down, so to speak. Let's go on and get. Nick opens the door, looking left, then right, then waves me forward. The downstairs is still empty. We hear the dinner bell ring. Mrs. Hendrick walks out in the foyer and sees us walking down the stairs. Oh, the two of you like to stay for dinner? We always have more than plenty of food to spare. Well, that's mighty thoughtful, Mrs. Hendricks, but I have to be on my way. A friend of mine is expecting me as well. Now that's a downright shame. I'd appreciate if you thought about coming back. As kind as she is, I don't want to. That doesn't change the truth. I figure that I will be. She smiles sweetly at that. Then I won't keep you. Please have a perfectly delightful evening, the both of you. We nod our heads and take our clothes in the coat rack and make our way back outside. I can feel the eyes of the butler on the back of our necks as we depart from the porch and reach the front gate. Mechanical whir in front of us goes off as we go through the opening bars. Strangely, I don't see the gunman. Doesn't mean he's not still here somewhere. We had a productive evening. I don't answer. My skin won't stop crawling until we're both about 200 paces from the gate. Well, why are you silent? I never liked going downhill. Why is that? It's easier for... I hear the shot go off before I see it. The rusted metal can that rock beside my leg sparks. I don't even need to think about what I'm going to do next. My deck will nick to the ground and make us roll. He screams from the shove, but it's better than either of us getting shot. I drag him behind the biggest rock I see and make him crouch with me. Who the hell is out there? I hear laughter. One old, one new. Both familiar. I peep past the stone, see Noah and Andy almost keeling over in laughter. What in hell are you doing, boy? Come on, we're only fanning you. Nick is still on the floor, blinking rapidly. Ain't no goddamn thing that's funny about assaulting an officer. Quit your bitching. What are you aiming for the can, not you? Were you all funning me when you told your new friend over there to steal my gun? Oh, what the hell, Noah? You blabbed? He bullied it out of me. Oh, come on, he ain't that scary. Maybe not to you. Your mama's gonna get an earful of this next time I see her, son. Don't you damn call me son. I'm a grown man. Grown men don't fire stray bullets near walking civilians.
One's wearing the colours of the USC military do. I gotta stay sharp with my shooting. It's not my fault you weren't paying attention while you were walking. Keep acting like that. The only uniform you're going to be wearing is black and white stripes. I told you not to bother us. You should stay damn well away from the both of us. Ordinarily that'd be Peaches, but I had to talk to your mother today. Mom might see things differently right now, but she don't really need you. None of us do. You think I need to make that more clear? Your point is crystal, but you're not going to get anywhere by threatening me. I threaten you? I see James show up behind Andy and Noah. Who's really threatening anybody? I brought on my ex-wife's child. He fired on us, Hendricks. James crosses his arms and hums. I fired on you? Andy, didn't you say you're aiming for the can? Sir, yes, sir. Then I'm glad we could clear that up. So no harm done. Piece of shit. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's the third time I've heard the dinner bell go off. Let's go eat before the food goes cold. Hooray! That sounds good to me. James guides them towards the inside of their porch while touching their shoulders. Things that will make me jealous, and he has a surprise coming his way. And he plans to raise his son that way, but he's leading both those boys down the dangerous road if nobody nips it in the bud. I've never seen Andy act this out of line. Nobody, and I mean nobody's going to threaten me from talking to Hattie when I need to talk to her. No matter how damn my blood is running through his veins or not. You alright, Nick?
Oh, I do not know. We are not dead, yes?
We will indeed see another sunrise.
Oh, please let me get on my feet, William.
All right. I'm used to being covered in body fluids any day of the week. I'm still not used to blood. Sam? Are you with me? I stop staring at the bucket of water that's taken on a pink hue. Could you hand me a rag from the clean buckets? This one's already warm. It's because the temperature is increasing. She's burning up. Is she going to be alright? I've seen women in worse conditions pull through, but it's pretty bad. What do you think, Avery?
It's bad.
I think an IV solution is necessary to any chance at a partial recovery. But there will be permanent damage. I'll pay any expense. Just do what has to be done.
Right away.
Could I ask one of the residents to stay for a moment? I can... that'll be me. Cynthia closes her mouth and nods. Where is she? A familiar stern voice echoes through the hallway. An older vixen who I recognise as Mrs. Burns makes her way into the hall, being trailed by Scarlet. I told her she should wait, but... Oh, it's fine, Scarlet. Let me see her. The madam makes a quiet gesture with her hand. Mrs. Burns stands over the bedside of Marcy Green. Her stiff face slackens to a look of remorse. What happened to her?
From what I can tell, complications in delivery long term may have led to sepsis.
From just one delivery?
This looks like several.
Well, the police had told me more than 10.
Her head snaps to the madam.
More than 10? Oh, that beast. She doesn't have to worry anymore. We'll take good care of her. Yes, we will. What will you provide to the cause, Gretchen? Well, what do you need? Money? Assurance. That you'll go through me and the doctor for giving any more girls in the community dosages.
She looks like she's about to argue. The madam gives her a look so intense that the vixen recedes. She clasps Marcy's paw like she's a daughter, stoops over her and kisses her forehead once before wiping away a tear.
Okay. Oh, good. Nothing we've said leaves this room. That goes for everyone here.
Me, Cynthia, Avery and Scarlett all nod. She draws the curtains over Marcy's bed, leaving only the outline of her silhouette and the doctor's.
Let's go do some laundry, Sam. Your clothes are a bit of a mess. A bit of a mess? He looks like the Ripper. What went on in the Greens?
A lot. It's a bit of a long story.
And tossing your scant on in grey water is such a high intensity entreaty? Tell me the attached to in details, love. That's it, I'm coming with you.
Both Cynthia and I refuse because we're so worn out, but she doesn't really take no for an answer. So the three of us huddle around the laundry room barrel, rolling our soiled clothes over the washboards. I tell them both what happened.
What in the name of creation was going on in that awful house? Mrs. Burns must have known to some extent, right? And how to that extent? She's proved plenty of medicine for us and never seen it go sideways like that.
She shakes her head.
10, though? One just takes a toll, but 10? It's unbelievable. That man first needs more than an earful.
He's dead.
Too true, my ducky. Ready to march on his property myself and give him the hosing down his mother ought to have done years ago.
I mean, he's actually dead. She looks at me and tilts her head.
Since when?
Since Thursday. His head's been cut off. Both she and Cynthia look shocked.
That might be a thing worth knowing. You think the sheriff would go spreading the great news? Adler's too busy spying on us and making deals to do his job, I wager. That's usually how things go for a sheriff in this part of the country, though, isn't it? Excellent that revolving doors doesn't tend to be much different. Oh, this won't be sent away in a casket looking like Swiss cheese.
Well, he was doing his job. He announced it to the widow first. Soon after she had her emergency.
Then where is he now?
I don't know. He had to chase a lead, but he made sure Marcy was taken care of.
And he just zoomed off, leaving you alone? With the otter?
Her tone is sounding more and more incredulous as time passes. Bronson got the job done.
The man can barely get his holster on, Sam.
Got a problem with this? Why don't you just talk to the sheriff?
I don't need to talk to him. I'm just saying he's probably better equipped to handle a situation like that than...
Sam? We hear William's voice down the corner.
Looks like it's time for me to back it up. Let's touch base again soon, lovelies.
She leaves the doorway and lets a one-note giggle as she bumps into William in the hall and clambers past him. He looks at me and he breaks into a legitimate smile. Oh, Sam, you wouldn't believe it. He stops talking when he sees Cynthia still scrubbing the blood out of our clothes, glaring at him. Would you mind if I borrowed Sam for a moment to talk? Will.
Well, now you ask, as a matter of fact, I would.
He blinks. I'm sorry?
This is our washing room. This is our home. It's not yours. Why are you tromping around like you own it?
I can assure you the owner's given me permission to conduct my business here.
As if she can deny you permission. You're the sheriff. Quite certain you haven't forgotten this.
I don't know what this is about, but I don't want to get into the middle of it. So, it looks like the two of you should talk. I'll be in my room when either of you have finished. Goodbye. Sam walks around with a skittish look about him, skulking in the quickest way a puma can while trotting through a narrow corridor. It appears that we may have got off on the wrong foot, Miss Sosie.
He goes off with you and comes home covered in blood, Mr. Adler. Need I remind you what happened to him the last time he came home looking like that?
I can't really say I can talk about that. She cackles at the frosty, only short, yappy woman who's set with equal amounts of rage and determination can muster.
Yeah, I'll bet you can't.
I don't know why you're going on about Sam. Sam's fine.
Maybe he doesn't have any cuts or bruises this time. He sure does look like he's aged 10 years.
Well, Sam's a grown man. You ain't his mama.
Didn't say I was. I know you aren't as smart as people think you are. Do you really think I'm just as mad about Sam? Do you even care about what's happening to Marcy?
I'm not a mind reader.
Sure you had to know something. That mind gloated day and night about Marcy. I don't see you getting involved until it's far too late.
The crimes we thought Huxley was doing are more of a fine than a jailing, and we find him plenty. Can't just break into anyone's home and dig around when I suspect any sort of foul play. They've got a rope around my neck in the middle of the night.
Then how about you spying all of us and using our private lives for who knows what seedy purpose?
I nod my head, feeling the anger start to well up. So you're the one who messed with my desk.
Prove it.
You've practically confessed. I don't gotta prove a damn thing. She looks me up and down and snorts.
You can arrest me, big man?
I'm well within my rights to.
Then are you going to do something about it then, or is that just another bluff?
This is escalating out of control. I need to work with her, not against her. Why can't you see that's what I'm trying to do here? Well, that's enough. This is a ridiculous conversation. From now on, stay out of my way and I'll stay out of yours.
Gladly. If you're going to keep stealing information from us, then I'm not going to make it easy for you.
Well, it's a good thing I love a challenge.
Excuse me?
We both jump when we look at the doorway. That Batavian stoat is just standing there, smiling.
How long have you been there?
Well, I'd like to know as well.
Well, I would have interrupted sooner. You both seem to be in the midst of a quarrel.
Oh, that's nice. Now I can spend more time talking my own voice again instead of Will's. But that was William's update. And if you need more from Smoke Room, just a short time ago, Murdoch's update became public, so you can see more from the Smoke Room on itch.io, of course. Just download the latest build, and there's some more from Murdoch there. Next week on the channel, we'll be actually returning to Remember the Flowers. Be catching up with what's going on there, and of course when Nick's next update comes out, we'll be returning to the Smoke Room and 1915 Echo. Of course, we have to talk still more about the Echo of 2020, as I'm still working on that script for Archers, so that will be coming up sometime, probably early September or so. We'll see about getting that one done. But as always, before I head off here, I'd say thanks to all my donors on Patreon and Ko-fi, are very much appreciated. And my top patrons are Burnt Toast, Kartek, Kovas Visser, Lexi Bucciarati, Lark Huskerton, Bastian, Tiger Cub, Brian Hall, Ida Corval, Anubis Silverwind, Dissonance, Grizz, Spiderling, Kopi, Cindy Dragowolf, Marcus, Evan King, Exact, Aaron Fox, Mohammed Al-Zamel, Pieka, Harvest Mouse Productions, Nova Starburn, Big Booty Judy, Omar, Smuto, and Andy Peng. Special thanks to all of them, and to you for watching as well. Hope you didn't mind too much that week break I took there. But again, we will be back next weekend, probably on the Sunday again, with more Remember the Flowers. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye for now.